tonight, darling. Pirates. Fancy the who? Later, beater. So last week I did an update on my Chromebook, and when I did, I forgot my password, of course, to sign in, even though I thought I had it written down, but apparently what I had written down wasn't right. So, yeah. So it took me 10 minutes to get in tonight. Hey, Chris! Sorry you got to hear me. Sorry I was late, y'all. Really sorry. I mean, I have a book. I bought a book because of that, because I've got 15 different Gmail accounts now. I have a Gmail account for everything. Oh, duh. So what's that one? The crackers. Well, now I got a new one. Okay. Gosh. How is everybody? Chris, welcome. And don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. This is going to be good. This is going to be good. Just know, you hear the accent that I'm reading here. This is the accent your book's going to be read in. I don't do British accents. I don't do Scottish brogues or Irish brogues. I'm tried it. I've been listening to pirate books for a week now, just so I could get in the mood and get going. And yeah, I have a Scottish brogue book reading right now that I was listening to while I was working, and yeah, no, that didn't work out. So let me see if I can pull it up right quick though, so I can show you guys the cover photo. Have you guys all seen the cover photo? Where am I going? Right here. Everybody time that didn't find me right off. Raelle. I love that name, Raelle. I love that. Okay. Romance and a Pirate. Is it out yet? Am I not finding it? Oh, there it is. Oops, there it is. It's one of those. There we go. Okay. So there's the cover. So you know what you're looking for when you go to buy it. All right. So let's get started. I'm going to try this. Can y'all see me okay? Okay. Okay, so yeah, I'm probably going to need my glasses, y'all. Sorry. I don't have any of my good ones in here that are half, so you're going to have to look over my glasses. Chapter 1, Mark of Betrayal. Plymouth, Britain, the age of piracy's glory, 1688. Alas, the moment his daughter Lone agonizes over his waywardness at the ball she's given that night, Jonathan Stafford, a lanky man whose long red hair curled round his head, crimson beard matching, set afore a gaming table, thumbing worn cards. He had had a run of fortune and just couldn't leave until he declared it escaping. Oh, he knew his daughter would be troubled by his lengthy absence. Social functions, such as balls, were never for him. Jonathan played out his hand. His fortune waned. He scooped up the remainder of his funds, sojourning through the gaming establishment, acknowledging those fashionable men surrounding him. He was minutes from his manor, having left the hall when he was blockaded by 3 unsavory creatures. 2 burly men grabbed him from behind, his arms trussed in a stronghold. The other black guard stood up forefront, a knife seized amongst labor-roughened fingers, a sneer gripping his terribly gaunt face. "We are wanton of what is ours," the brigade brandishing the knife spat. Nary did Jonathan flinch. "'Tis not a sexter of sexter for a hideous demon such as you, Kincaid. Ye squander your time meeting this sacrilege." See, I can do words here and there if it's spelled out like that. Fox Kincaid, a scallywag beholden sinister black eyes and grotesquely thinning ebony hair, throttled the knife firmly in his scarred fist. "Ye be wise to tell us where we'll find what we seek." Jonathan cunningly grinned. He knew what they were after. "Neither torture nor threats of death shall wiggle anything from my lips to yours." The men tightened their hold. Kincaid menacingly glared, revealing yellow, broken teeth. "Hey, Victoria. Welcome, welcome, welcome." Kincaid menacingly glared, revealing yellow, broken teeth. "Death you meet," he hissed, stabbing the knife, spearing Jonathan's side, ripping the bloody blade. He wiped the weapon, staining dirty linen breeches. "I'll unbury what I hunt without your bloody assistance, mate," Kincaid swore. Allowed to drop to the ground, Jonathan moaned, slumping, cupping his bloody inside. His attackers faded amongst the night gloom, chuckling at their antics. Among those great... Let's try that again. Among those guests crowding the elaborate ball, Lone Stafford whispers vulgarly, "Damn him for this blasphemy," whipping her gown of ruby silk and black lace to cascade behind her in abundant waves. She cheerfully acknowledged chattering nobility. Willowing tall, Lone's fiery red, unswept hair brushes her face in rivulets. The hugging bodice of her gown's squared throat adorned milky breast, little of her shapely body obscured to the enraptured beholder. Lightning silver eyes never conveyed her distress as she speaks to those who dawdle about the ballroom, smiling with blush-red lips when what she yearns for is to plunge into the garden, hiding behind breath-stealing blooms. Flamboyant dukes, duchesses, and earls donned vivid yellow silks, glittering blues, purple velvets, brocades of crimson, fluffy laces ringing the guests' throats, and droopy collars. All bewildered the eye. Everyone appeared jovial. Everyone, that is, except Lone. Curse his bleeding hide, she snarled, having split the crushing throne of dancing and supping guests. Lone glided to a corner where her mister or her sister May meekly stood. I'm just making words up as I go. Lone glided to a corner where her sister May meekly stood, eager suitors encumbering. Smiling, Lone extracted her enthralled sister from the isolating entourage. May stood petite. Lone was far taller than her younger sibling. Lone always dubbed herself simple when compared to her sister's astonishing beauty, for May's coiffed hair lay angelically golden and thinner. Lone's hair was unruly, its waist length, rippling tresses too thick. Lone's face was oval. May's beheld a rounded countenance, her pert nose slight. Lone's appeared slender, more pointed, her cheeks molded to pronounced cheekbones. May's were the opposite, which gave her sister Lone thought an elegant loveliness. Guided to where their guests couldn't overhear their conversation, May fidgeted, folding her gossamer green silk dress. She knew why her sister distracted her from the gentlemanly entourage. She bit irritably. Honestly, Lone, he said he'd be here. I do not understand your vexation. Lone murmured. He spewed these falsehoods afore, vowing to be here, and he never intended. She nodded, for a woman dressed in indigo satin glided by them. Lone glared, spurning the lady's retreating form. May snootily huffed. Father has always seen fit to do whatever he pleases, as you well know. She smiled, for an earl caught her tempting greenish silver eyes. May batted dark lashes. Lone smiled, for several other women sashayed amidst their presence. Father's bloody position is at our sides. How do we rise as proper noble women when he refuses to stand with us? Sincerely, May, you should be incensed with his absence. 'Tis your reputation at stake as well as my own. May waved at each man who had been circling her. James is in a mood. She fluffed up swept hair. Why are you not anxious for your own father? Chided Lone, disgruntled by her sister's lack of unease. May glowered, lancing Lone's indignant eyes. You fret far too much. This ball is for us to enjoy. Father said so. I mean to do just that. May pleaded her hymn, stomping from Lone and returning to her entourage. Lone derisively eyed her sister. For once more, she was smothered by doting men. Father's more trouble than he's worth at times. Sighing, she smiled luminously, for another of the older females promenaded into her midst. Unquestionably, you crave to uncover some scandal enmeshed in this manor's halls, Miss Blythe, she whispered, teeth gnashed. Foreboding continued. The eve wore amongst the night, with no sighting of Lone's wayward lying father. She secreted herself amidst a shaded recess near the arched entryway, glaring at any man who attempted to ask for a dance. Lone was not feeling social. A pounding knock thrashed the manor's main door. Lone rushed to answer, waving off the maid who approached, thinking it her rebellious father returning from who knew where, having forgotten his key again. Startled, Lone instead found an ebony-haired stranger standing at attention behind the oak door. The constable introduced himself with a severe, brash tone. Lone brusquely ushered himself ushered him into the sitting room, distanced of musing guests. She offered wine. He refused the libation. Dread besieging, she sat on the settee, for he motioned her to. Troubles afoot. Such worldly, old world words being used tonight, and my tongue's going to. Blah, 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 blah. I need somebody to untie it when I get done here. Thank you for joining us. The constable fell grave. I apologize, my lady, for abruptness. Your father's been murdered. The ring twirled. Somehow Lone decried the blackness. What? Murdered? Her hands trembled discreetly. She laced them in her lap. Retrieving a pouch ensconced amid his linen shirt, the constable removed the gold chain, the emerald cross dangling from it that her father always wore, garnishing his throat. Its coldness biting. Lone strangled the crucifix in an icing palm. How is he dead? This must be a nightmare. The constable squeezed her shoulder. I'm remorseful for your loss. He was about to depart. At whence she muttered, How? Where? At the arched doorway, the constable froze his step. His knifed body was discovered outside Hartford's gaming establishment in an alley. No one apparently witnessed the atrocity. Lone's head swam. Constable, good eve. Lone said the words without a thought to what said. The constable saw himself out of the manor. Searching relentlessly, May hunted her errant sister, stumbling upon her secluded amid the sitting room alone. May sought to reprimand her for being a dreadful hostess. She suddenly noticed Lone was shivering. Fright pushed May to hunch at Lone's slipper-clad feet. What's befalling you, Lone? Father's been murdered, lifelessly she attested. May slumped to the floor. Murdered? You must be mistaken. Why, surely not. Tears flooded her beset eyes. Lone stammered. The constable was just here. He said father was moments from the manor, that he had been knifed. He's dead, May. Unleashing her fist, she unveiled the gold chain that nestled the cross. May burst into tears. Lone embraced her sister in comforting arms. Hesitant, she looked at one of her servants as the linen-shrouded maid entered the sitting room, unaware that it was occupied. Her voice shuddering, Lone commanded Mrs. Jargus to inform their guests that there had been a wretched accident, that their father was killed. Lone fretted that she ought to enlighten their attendants of this tragedy as propriety dictated. Alas, she daren't face them. Lone assisted her overwrought sister to her bedchamber on the second floor, gave her a water-filled goblet, stirred in the drink the sleeping powder May took, at whence she was wakeful, and waited for her to settle amidst fitful slumber. Mournfully, Lone wandered to her own bedchamber, never seeing lustrous furnishings, not the intricately carved bed, its oak wardrobe that shaded a far wall, or the quaking fire that illuminated the hearth. The emerald cross gleamed dangling loose of her unclenching fingers. Lone stared at the jewel that belonged to her father. She couldn't weep. She wondered why, for she loved her father. Iced to her soul, Lone flipped the braided chain over her head, fingering the cross that chilled her skin. Strolling amongst the chambers, she wilted backward at the four-poster bed, morbidly dazed eyes never shut. Several days after her father's burial, Lone met the solicitor, Kirkman Walthrop, at his two-story manor. He cordially smiled, noting the black form silhouetting dress of austere satin and matching veil that she lifted off her blank face. Entering his elaborate parlor, he offered Lone a seat on a high-backed chair. She delicately sat, sweeping her skirt forward whilst he circled his mahogany desk. Kirkman eyed the dark shadows that soiled the flesh under Lone's stormy gray eyes, aggrieved. Your father made provisions for you and your sister in the form of large funds to be granted whenever required by me. Jonathan wished for your lives to continue smoothly, my lady. It is quite acceptable, Solicitor Walthrop. I'm assured, alas, this is not the reason that I am in attendance of your fine home. Lone fretted as to why she'd been summoned to his residence instead of his usual establishment amongst Plymouth's bustling trenches. No, indeed not. Kirkman's oval eyes became fraught. There is the matter of shipping fleet to address. Lone peered at him, interested. Shipping fleet? What shipping fleet? Kirkman sneered, aware that she is utterly unaware of what her father did for a trade. Your father's exploits were cosseted for years, milady, the foundation for concealment owing to his privateering. Lone shifted to the chair's edge. Privateering? His green eyes gleaming, Kirkman rubbed his clean-shaven chin. Your father was a pirate, a hired pirate. Lone sprang to her feet incensed. My father stood as a respected earl. He is no heinous pirate, sir. Kirkman gestured for her to sit. Jonathan wished, as the crown, to keep his secret life just that, secret. He never intended for you or any family relations to ever learn the truth of his exploits. A dastardly air clouded her father. Countless chattered that his trade endeavors were not what they should be. However, she'd never believed the gossip mongers, although in thinking about it, she'd never heard her father decry the mutterings. Was her father a privateer for the crown? Had he kept his debauchery hidden from her all these years? I cannot trust this lest I see some morsel of evidence. Steadfastly, the solicitor delivered rolled, weathered parchment. Lone unrolled the parchment and studied wispy writing. What was sprawled in front of her lay a lawful declaration. Fearful, she read the monstrous script. Oh my gosh, y'all, bear with me here. You had to put it in Old English, didn't you? Hitherto, this decree is a uniting covenant betwixt Jonathan A. Stafford, the Earl of Manford, and that of the British Crown, to which no desertion of this alliance will ever be referred to, nor spoken of from hither forthwith, unless Jonathan A. Stafford is imprisoned, until which time his exploits for the crown are disguised in secrecy. Should he find himself jailed, only thence is his allegiance to be revealed, and clandestinely to those who are within the restraining crown's realm. Upon that moment in time, he and his family shall be ushered to an unknown country. There he'll expand his life, nary to return to British shores again under a yoke of treason. No utterance of this privateering mark shall even be remarked upon except in circumstances for which there is an absolute necessity and to which no recounting by any living soul must ever further stand addressed. Oh, I bet you have fun writing this. If confirmation of said alliance is uncloaked, having been uttered by anyone connected with the family of Jonathan A. Stafford, the crown dubs this mutineer guilty, forthrightly jailing said offender for treason. Should Jonathan A. Stafford not fulfill his duties by manner of timeless death, this decree shall fall to his family under the faithful rules of conduct scribed herein. The Crown will deny any affiliation in the lawless activities Jonathan A. Stafford may become associated with. Did y'all get all that? In other words, he works for the Crown. But if he's cold or nice, tough luck. Whew. I felt like it needed a voice. I couldn't just read it in my voice. It just wasn't read right, not with all that old worldly language. Far more was satanically scripted. Alas, she'd seen enough to realize that it was enslaving. Lone was spellbound by the mark, sickened. Anew she glanced at the signatures, the king's and her villainous father's. Excruciatingly, she relinquished the decree to the solicitor. What she yearned to do was rip it to shreds. Alas, she was sure that another decree had been cloistered somewhere. Her insubordination would be naught but an insignificant act of defiance. The mark, as you can see, trusts Jonathan for life. He was subservient to this arrangement. Alas, with his murder, the decree falls to you to fulfill. Lone glowered. You cannot think that I am capable of continuing this illicit escapade. It is madness. It is madness. The solicitor nodded. I can do some words, but they always come out I can't do it in the same voice that I do in everything else. My voices kind of come with their own accents. The solicitor nodded. You're the firstborn. Though you are female, the decree is yours to resume. Lone straightened. I cannot accept the station of sinful pirate, Solicitor Walthrop. You're insane to suggest such a proposal. Kirkman admonished. This alliance bestows the crown liberties, shall we say. Should you not comply, you break the decree. You shall be held accountable. Are you implying that they'll toss me into prison? He leaned against the carved desk. 'Tis a hideous possibility. Beware, the crown hearkens you answerable for resuming your father's footsteps. Jonathan understood this when he signed the decree. Lone stalked about the fire in a moored parlor. How could her father inflict this wretchedness? Did they truly expect her to engage in this ludicrous venture? She's a woman. She knows nothing of piracy. Kirkman watched the wild play of emotions that struck her, aware that Lone berated her father. I have granted an enormous lot for you to consider. I suggest you reflect upon the disastrous conditions you face if you decide not to obey. Prison is an unpleasant experience. There is sincerely no reason that you shouldn't resume the alliance. Lone caustically mocked. I can think of 1,000 reasons. I am a female. I have no skill at piracy or anything concerning shipping. I did not even know that my father owned one ship, let alone a fleet. 'Tis insanity. Your apprehension is just. However, either you continue your father's privateering or you're imprisoned. It is your choice. Lone covered her face beneath the ebony veil. It is acceptable for me to speak with my sister regarding father's revolting decree. May is family. Nevertheless, no others must know. Cloister this as much as possible to yourself. How many ships that is? 20. Docked where? The They moor here when required, unnumbered, anchor at unknown locations to load and unload their wares, shall we say. Lone understood. The ships met clandestinely to shuffle their bloody treasures. I shall inform you of my decision, sir. Hesitating, she crept a delicate hand, enchaining the glint doorknob. You're unquestionably already aware of my answer. Kirkman smiled. The only choice you grasp. If you wish to speak with me, send messenger, request an audience, and we'll rendezvous here. Otherwise, keep even our association sacred. Gratitude, sir. Lone departed the house and was about to duck inside her carriage. A ship's bell tolled, striking her attention toward the swarmed pier. She hastily informed the carriage handler that she thought to walk to the docks. He should meet her there in no later than 2 hours. Secluded behind heavy curtain, Kirkman watched her leave taking, smirking at his treachery, having led Lone dastardly astray. Remember, Kirkland's the one that murdered her father. Footfalls from the noisy pier. Lone sliced the milling mass of people who clogged Plymouth's dirt streets. She'd been to the pier prior to this day, escorted there by her father. At this time, she thought that he'd merely longed to see the ships arriving and departing. How could she have been blind to that? He was executing villainy as deplorable as piracy. This is Kirkman. Oh, Kincaid's the one. Okay, oops, sorry. I got my K's mixed up. Kirkman's the solicitor. Okay. Gotcha. See, I had them separated, but then when it says he was behind a curtain, I was thinking Kincaid was behind a curtain and was listening to this whole conversation. My bad. My bad. Okay. At the time, she thought he had merely longed to see the ships arriving and departing. How could she have been blind to that he was executing villainy as deplorable as piracy? Lone remembered seeing him conversing with men aboard the ships. She'd held it innocent. This day, alas, his guilt could never be forsaken. At the dock, Lone surmised the massive ship that anchored, bejeweling the plank pier's end. The vessel was eerily black, impaled by 3 masts that spiked the flawless sky. Is this vessel her father's? Lone had forgotten to inquire if a ship belonging to him was moored currently. She would merely hasten to the ship and see. If it were her father's ship, someone aboard would surely possess that information. Lone dispelled her fright, trudging the groaning pier. The broad plank was felled for crewmen to depart and return as required. She knew she shouldn't board a ship without the captain's permission. Alas, curiosity overpowered the nagging voice of caution. Crimping her voluminous skirt, she boarded the vessel's moon-shaped deck. No guard hovered aboard with either threatening sword or pistol. Lone stepped, avoiding ropes the thickness of a man's upper arm and different obstacles, which she did not know their names. She cringed, eyeing sleek black cannons, and couldn't envision the deafening sounds they could resonate, blasting deadly shots at other vessels instilled amidst the rage of conflict. Steadfast, she ascended the stairs to the helm deck that bridges the ship's squared stern and to the vessel's tiller. Did you know all these parts, or did you have to research all these parts? Because I can't tell stern from bow and all that other stuff. I just know words. A finger skipped shining, knobby reddish wood. How liberating it must feel to be a ship's captain, the world lying for you to but touch. At length, Lone decided to wander the lower decks. Certainly she could search them without anyone suspicious. She'd have a swift glance around, then depart, nary a soul the wiser to her perfidy. On main deck, Lone creaked a black door and descended a short number of stairs, and there she spied a lantern ensconed passageway. She glided to the door, doffing its end. She listened afore the entrance, but heard no sound strumming inward. Lone forthrightly clasped the door's brass handle, crept it aside, and scampered inside. No one prowled therein as suspected. A reddish-colored desk, littered by a seafaring chart and glittering brass instruments, was poised near a glass wall, which bestowed a wrenching view of the sapphire ocean. Anchored to a side wall was a colossal bed, edges entwined in vines and leaves, shelves possessing parchment charts rolled upon them, and countless sheltering clothing piled, weighted alongside the bed's head. She gently removed a cerulean silk shirt. Whoever the wearer is, he's a sizable man. A shiver crawled down her spine. Lone plopped the shirt on the shelf, not desirous to face that the mantle's owner could do her tremendous harm should he catch her fondling his belongings. The giant casement summoned, the ocean flowing for as far as the eye could see. How glorious it had to be to sail amongst the tide. Dejected, Lone withered on the high-backed chair skirting the desk, dreaming of freedom. Her father was proprietor of 20 ships. Is this one? Lone thumbed through the ship's log and found only references to the task that proceeded aboard the vessel. Entries described positions in seafaring terms. Nothing stated the name of the proprietor commanding this vessel. Distracted, Lone trudged to the bed and sat on the feathered mattress, fingering its railing. Who captains this ship? What would he do if he discovers an invader on board? He might imprison her amidst the darkened cargo hold with his plundered treasures if he's a pirate. Lone vaulted for the door. The vessel harshly rocked sideways. The hull groaned. Lone at first declared it only a wave cresting, but no, it occurred once more and more pronounced. Trounced by fears, she faced the casement, eyeing tumultuous waves that rushed behind the vessel. Nary did the ship seem to move. However, as she peered, enduring distressed fascination, she could see that it was undeniably. How long it had been moving? How lengthily was she even aboard? Lone couldn't be sure. She'd paid no heed to time. Oh, what an oaf she is! Terrified, Lone scuttled for the door. Someone loudly spoke behind the entry's vastness. Lone groped to a standstill, yelped and thrashed behind the door as it flew open. A towering man cut the threshold. He wore a lavish blue silk shirt and snugly fitted brown breeches. Lengthy black boots clasped to his knees. She could see that he was golden-haired. His long waving tresses were trussed at the nape of his neck. Bridled by a lengthy binding, his body and legs were heavily muscled. Beguiled, she glanced over at the breadth of his back as he prayed on the desk. Lone's heart throbbed, for his satiny-clad body moved as lithely as a lion. He gripped the chart, swathing the desk, and rolled it. Then he placed it on a shelf, retrieving another, flipping it to unfold the desk. He studied the parchment, picked up the logbook, dipped his black quill in the inkwell, scribing amongst the book and up on parchment. Icily, he flopped the book down, yelling. All right, y'all ready? Lone flinched, for the bellowed for he bellowed the name Thomas. Fitful, he thought, she fought to melt, swathing the carved wood wall, but it was to no avail. She scrunched her eyes shut, desperate to slither amid the shadows of the door. A chestnut-haired boy, bearing sparkling brown eyes, skipped the cabin's threshold. "Aye, Captain!" The captain turned. Lone saw a smattering of his sculpted face, but not enough to describe him. Praying not to be heard, she hid more amid blackened recesses. Lord, what has she reaped? She's alone aboard a ship, caged by swarms of men, and she was not even sure if this was her father's vessel. What would this captain do once he uncloaks her blasphemous presence? Perhaps he'll slay her for her witchery. Lone clenched the spoiled eyes, only whisking them open, hearing the captain speak. With a deep, resounding voice, he said, "Take this heading to Craven." Outstretching his arm, he surrendered to the young man the parchment on which he had written. "Aye, Captain." Spinning, the lad took his leave. Setting down the logbook after scribing another entry, the captain charged for the door. Lone barely saw his face as he slammed the entrance, leaving the captain silent at his exodus. A jittery hand arose to her furiously pounding chest. She heaved a sigh of relief, tiptoeing to the encasement. Where were they journeying? She should have made herself known, but something told her not to. She prayed that her judgment was not sorely clouded by fright. What to do? They'd find her. It was inevitable. However, 'tis an enormous ship. Perhaps she could cower in fear amongst a corner until they dock. But where would they anchor? Lone lurched for the logbook, flipping pages until she uncovered the reference's end. There, he'd written a name she'd never heard. In a huff, Lone cast off the book. At the entrance, she listened for any noises that might drift to her from outside. Silence greeted. Squeaking the door a sliver, Lone searched through the passage, seeing no pistol-brandishing sentries. Her heart skipping anew, she ventured out of the cabin. Where to run? Meager doors summoned off the lantern-emblazoned corridor. Guarded, she opened each. None led amidst the ship's depths. They revealed cabins that were almost replicas of the captain's. Lone daren't step aboard the deck, for she'd be seen, especially since she was confident that there were few, if any, women aboard. An echo spurred her tormented mind. She might search for clothing to change into and mingle amongst the crew. Afterward, she'd retrieve a suitable hiding place. Discreet, Lone tiptoed amid cabin after cabin, but the clothing she unfolded was much too large. She'd simply make do, yanking, twisting, and slicing the laces, threading the dresses back. She eventually loosened them and hoisted the heavy gown over her head. Unclothed, she drew on the pale linen breeches and the silk shirt she'd plundered from a shelf. Poisoning distress bemoaning, she observed her reflection gracing the mirror that was anchored to the wall. The shirt's laces drooped down rounded breast provocatively, the breeches slouching, and she'd not even considered her scarlet hair. Lone couldn't do anything with it but tie it a veiling of a length of leather, and its tresses rippled, descending her back. Blasphemingly, Lone swore. She'd never hide herself. Damned for her reckless treason. She sprawled, flopping on the bed entrenched amongst the tousled cabin. She'd simply have to fess up to her misdeeds and pray that the captain wouldn't order her beheaded. Desolate, Lone gathered her black mourning dress, mumbled profanities, and dragged herself to the captain's quarters. She opened the door and forlornly plodded to the bed. Dropping lifelessly, she waited venomous doom, trusting the axe is about to fall. Okay, that was just chapter 1, y'all. Whew, that was a lot. What y'all think? Should I continue? I don't know if I'll get all of chapter 2 in because, yeah, I won't get all of chapter 2 in, but I'll read some more because I kind of got a late start. So I'll read some more. Chapter 2. Lone covered amidst the captain's quarters for what she held an eternity, jumping at every rustle of the ship until the door swung wide and he entered. Lone's heart thrummed as she bejeweled the captain's bed, gritting the dress over her lap, fingers bloodless. Astounded to an abrupt standstill, he peered upon the sorceress's apparition, eyes enraptured as though she's a vestige of his imagination that was somehow twirled to life. He churlishly folded his arms at his chest. The shirt laces billowed, throat to tapering waist. I do not remember having any females aboard. Lone's gaze crept, black-footed feet to beguiling face, his sun-darkened cheek, muscles sculpted, shrouding high bones, nose long, lips defined, eyes silvery blue, framed by black lashes, golden hair braced amidst leather. His muscled legs were rakishly honed within hugging breeches, the shirt's black laces untied at the throat, plunging toward his rippling stomach. Lone muttered, "This, sir, I know not. Nary am I a passenger." She stood almost bumping him. His glacial gaze bewitched her. Lone stumbled backward, bewildered. He throttled her arms, steadying her. Lone felt ravishingly singed. Ruthlessly, she jerked her arms loose. He stepped aside so she could shift away. "Lord, the tale's brutally longer than any I could ordinarily tell," she confessed. He confronted her whilst she wandered aimlessly around the cabin. "Begin by explaining your illicit presence." "I simply wished to see the ship. I wondered if it might be my father's." His eyes frosted. "I am the holder of this pirate ship. It is named the Slayer of the Dragon, known to buccaneers far and wide as the Slayer." Lone rolled her eyes and resumed her pacing. "Oh, this never would have happened had my father not gotten himself killed." "Killed?" "He was knifed days ago. I just found..." Lone stilted her sentence, realizing she's not supposed to inform anyone about her father's true identity. "Found what?" His frost blue eyes speared as she paused before him. "That was the proprietor of a shipping fleet. We were unaware." "We?" He glanced throughout the cabin, concerned that she may not be alone. Grateful he found no one else in attendance. "My sister and I..." Lone resumed her pacing. "I only intended to mull on my wretched plight, and when I saw your ship, I jumped into peril. 'Tis father's folly I've horridly inherited." He ogled her silhouetted body. The clothing she wore was exceedingly too revealing. The silky shirt's throat exposed her gloriously baiting chest. His eyes tortuously fondled heavy breast. Fire blazed, but he trounced its cutthroat that savagery. Why are you wearing these clothes?" Lone halted. His enraptured glance pricked the flesh of her chest to her pulsing throat, journeying to her face, caressing her wet lips, and then licked. Then he captivated her silvery eyes. The flame swirling in his staring gaze shocked, a ripple impaling her heart. "I intended to disguise myself." "Ah, you thought to stow away." Lone nodded, pacing to rid the the tear this man cast over her beguiled senses. I only thought to look about and thereafter leave. Now on board a ship in who knows what sort of peril, for the future was bleak with prison looming should I not comply with the terms of the agreement and my father's cheated life. If I had the chance, I'd throttle that man. I would. And could he do this? How could he do this to me? She stared at the captain. I do not even know your name. He'd rakishly slouched, sitting on the desk ridge, his right leg dangling. Hunter. Captain Hunter Drayling. Captain Drayling. Anew, she rambled. My sister will wonder where I am, and for all she'll know, I have been slain as my father. Lord, why did I not trot to the manor as a genteel, noble woman? I've never been on a ship, never been anywhere, quite honestly. Did you say Slayer? Thomas knocked, entering, chestnut eyes roaming to the woman who chattered afore his seemingly aloof captain. Who be this? Hunter arched his sun golden eyebrow. I've no clue. She's not drawn breath, so I may ask. Glancing from one man to the other, Lone seized her prattle. Lone Stafford. Hunter gazed at Thomas. Lone Stafford. Thomas smirked. Lone plunged to the bed, dropping her face to Hunter's pillow, weeping a flood of tears. Hunter signaled for Thomas to leave. He rushed to Lone, lowering a hand. He covered her shuddering back. You've suffered a grave loss. You're entitled to weep. Lone brushed her hair off her face. I should wail. Her words were muffled, for she spoke with her mouth swathed by his pillow. You're doubtless going to slay me. I'm sure it is your right. Unaccustomed to having women to coddle, Hunter retrieved a linen cloth that was usually availed for washing wounds. He fluttered it near her face. When he received little in the way of response, he withdrew Lone's hair from her blushed cheek. She accepted the cloth and blew her nose. Hunter wandered to his desk. What is he to do with this woman? She had said that her father was proprietor of a fleeting ship. Why do I keep saying that? To a shipping fleet. Gosh. It couldn't be Red Raven Shipping, could it? The name he knew is a sanctuary for piracy. Her name was unfamiliar, although a paltry lot of pirates ever apply their true names. I never cry, Lone sniffled. Since father died, I've shed nary a tear. I love him. What could be the reason? Distress often sees fit to shed its tears at the proper moment. Could you return me to Plymouth? Hunter shook his head. I've a destination to meet. Lone forlornly asked, What's to befall me? Hunter sat next to her. What ship and fleet did your father own? I do not know. I never asked. I was too revolted. Lone shuddered. You did not hear the name Red Raven? Inquired Hunter. My solicitor never surrendered a name. Why? Hunter shrugged. 'Tis something I wondered. What will you do to me? Lone moved to the encasement, troubled. Hunter touched the black morning dress that was now gracing his bed. You'll reside in my cabin. I've no other quarters to allot. Lone whirled. I cannot sleep with you here. His steely eyes bewildered hers. My crew takes precedence over available cabins. None remain. My reputation I had is ruined. I can imagine what my sister shall say. As well as the whole of Britain, she muttered silently. Hunter stood. I'm just a scallywag pirate. Who'd believe me should I vow that the Lady Lone Stafford slept amidst my cabin? She smiled at his rendition of her treachery. The British lot, they've christened me sinful, seeing my wicked antics. Plagued, Lone faced the casement again. They suspected father was dastardly. Why did they see it and I did not? You saw what you wanted. How foolish have I been? Lady Red, such is a question I cannot answer. Alas, I've 200 pirates aboard ship. You're the only female. Such spells catastrophe. Hunter mulled over the situation amidst which he wallows. Sorry, I had Chinese for supper, so I must find clothes that fit far differently. If they see you as you stand, I shall definitely have a mutiny. You cannot wear that dress. The blistering sun will bake you in the heavy black cloth. Lone felt besotted by his sensual smile. He had the most faultless white teeth she'd ever seen. You could throw me to the wolves, let them eat me alive. 'Tis not anything I'd ever consider. Hunter strode for the door. Do not leave the cabin. Wait here. Lone tugged the chain aloft and grasped the cross, wondering what she's to do now. She wouldn't be able to speak to the solicitor. The coachman would assuredly enlighten everyone that she ventured to the dock. Would they realize that she's stranded aboard the ship? To the bed she glided, withering. Hunter returned, carrying clothing he hoped would fit her suitably. His outstretched hands presented to her the pale blue silk shirt and breeches. It was in that heart-ripping instant that he saw the emerald cross, a jewel he'd immediately recognized. Hunter's blood boiled, for it hung round the throat of the man who is his vilest adversary. Noticing that his gaze was bedazzled by the crucifix, Lone unleashed it. It belonged to my father. Her father is the Red Raven, notorious commander of Red Raven shipping, the one pirate he had hunted for years, the Leviathan that had slain his own father and was always just beyond his cutthroat grip. His ruby-haired daughter stood right amongst Hunter's clutches. Unable to dispel his wrath, Hunter charged away, for Lone glanced at him when he did not forsake the cabin so she could change her clothing. Undaunted, Lone shrugged, slipping the silk shirt over her head, tugging the smaller blue shirt to cover her naked body. Sliding off the loose breeches, she pulled on the tighter fitting pair. She must cuff the sleeves and breeches. Other than this, they were a fair fit. Proudly, she faced him. It is an improvement, do you agree? Hunter's bewildered glance roamed blazing tresses and the gorgeous flesh of Lone's face, tumbling down her voluptuous body, skittering to her naked feet. How is this mythological goddess the daughter of the man he had thirsted to slaughter with crushing hands? Lone said that he's dead. Did this not end his search for him? Yes, nevertheless, there's the treasure. Did Lone guard anything of it? Did Lone guard anything of it? Nary did Hunter think so, for she'd said that she'd not been enlightened about her father's fleet till this day. She didn't know he was a pirate or of his bloody reputation. Or is everything she told him a treacherous lie? Lone looked at him, ill at ease. Is something amiss? Hunter shook loose of his reverie. No, I was contemplating our quandary. Those clothes fit too revealing. This might be unwise. Into the mirror attached to a wall she gazed. Lone looked vastly different, she knew, but there was little to trouble anyone, for she had an unremarkable figure. I do not see that anyone will notice me. My sister's the ravishing beauty. She clearly never saw what he did. for her hourglass figure was breath-crushingly flaunted by the breeches, the shirt divulging too much of her sultry chest. Who wouldn't see her gut-wrenching beauty? Hunter's glance fondled her wavy hair that long gathered to a plait, that splitting shirt unveiling her glorious breast, for she had not trusted its laces, her body nearly wholly bare to his wanton gaze. Hunter craved to ravage her instead. He strangled his lust. She's his enemy's daughter. He should be starved to butcher her, not hunger to yank her betwixt his legs and lose himself amidst his seductive body. Her seductive body. I leave. The helm. I return. He was about to wrench the door open. Lone spoke. Is it wicked for me to step on deck? Hunter dubbed it wicked for her to walk anywhere aboard his ship. Come to the helm. He desperately ached to have not said those words. Beastly demons pursuing his every footfall. Hunter prowled to the bridge. Y'all, she wrote this beautifully. I just can't read tonight. Good, Jackie Lou Who. Thomas was ensconced. Let's see, wait a minute. Hunter dubbed it wicked for her to walk anywhere aboard his ship. Come to the helm. He desperately ached to have not said those words. Beastly demons pursuing his footfall, Hunter prowled to the bridge. Thomas was ensconced at the side of Craven Braddon, Hunter's dark-haired, black-eyed quartermaster. Both bore smug sneers, brightening devilish faces. Taking in hand the steering of his vessel, Hunter evaded. Craven hobbled to his captain, slighted by the limp he had acquired in a pirate clash from long ago. I understand we've a lady's stowaway aboard ship. You've no clue who her father is? Enduring heart-crushing consternation, Hunter observed as the woman he referred to alighted, every eye on the ship swinging to her at her entrance. Lone froze, the mystified crewman eyeing her, high and low, tangled in rigging ropes and beside the cannons their gunners were tending, preparing for any conquest forthcoming. Hunter's starved gaze encaged Lone. He licked his lips, suddenly famished. Lord, he wants this woman to the core of his soul. Why? Barbed. He buried deviousness and forced tormented eyes off her scarcely disguised body. The red raven is her father. She carries the necklace he wore hanging round her throat. She says he was knifed, slain days ago, and she only found out that he ran a shipping fleet this day. It appears that she does not secret anything about his bloodthirsty piracy. Craven's glower sizzled the beauty who hurried to the bridge stairs. Ye believe her truthful? She seems honest. Alas, I cannot decide. Ye should slay her. I cannot slaughter a woman, and never one who could be innocent of her father's iniquities. Craven glanced from the woman to his captain. Hunter was fully enthralled by the beauty. Ye cosset feelings for her. Hunter slashed his desecrating gaze. I lust to possess her. Craven sneered. You're a pirate. She became yours at whence she boarded your vessel. Hunter's wolfish eyes crept alone. I shall seize my prize, the treasure, and the woman. As the lady strode to the bridge, Craven wandered off. And I'm going to stop there. That should put me right about an hour. Alrighty, so what do y'all think? Y'all think it's good? It is $3.99 at Amazon. I don't know if she's got it anywhere else, but Amazon's got it for $3.99. She also wrote one called Black Heart. Did you write anything else, Chris? She writes under the pen name Raelle Logan. So when you go looking for her, you'll have to look Raelle Logan. I thought Chris was her PA. Shattered. She also wrote Shattered, one called Shattered. So, alrighty. Tomorrow night, I am reading one by another new author. Whoop, whoop. We got new authors this week. I love it when we have new authors. It is by J.F. Silver called Along for the Ride. And it's supposedly a Halloween book, but not scary Halloween, but more like sexy Halloween. So we might need hot flash kits tomorrow, ladies. I'm just saying. So, and then Thursday is one of our favorite erotica writers, Carly Davis, and her latest coming out, Dirty Secrets. So be here tomorrow night for Along for the Ride, and Thursday night for Dirty Secrets, and go by tonight's Romancing the Pirates. Yeah, my TMJ's got my jaws all mixed up. It don't even want to go arr. Alrighty, ladies, and I don't think I had any gents on here tonight, did I? Teddy didn't join us. All right, ladies, thank you, Chris, for letting me read. I appreciate it. I loved it. Let us know when you got another new one coming out, and we will get with Vincy or Nina, and we'll get you on the books. I like the new ones. I like having my new to us authors too. It's the first pirate one I've done, so I needed something new. Alrighty. It's my bedtime. All right, ladies. You guys have a good night. Jackie Lou Who, get that cleaning done. Vincy, get ready for bed. Star's waiting on you. Nina, go do what you do, darling. Go walk Rocky. All right, everybody have a good night. Happy reading.